Moff, you had a bunch of surveys that we collected over the last couple of weeks, and I think we were going to present to the gals as well too. Do you have those?
Are you talking about like the poll results we were talking about?
Yeah, there was a poll that was flipped around the other way. It was one that was given to guys about IQ, notch count, and income, I think. But we had it flipped
Yeah.
around the other way. What was the other one?
Well, that's something I just came up with where if we were gonna like ask women of these three guys, which one would they pick? So there was a poll that got put out on YouTube and
Yeah,
it
so let's
was
table
for
that.
guys. Yeah. Um, you said table or you wanna keep going?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
When you say table, I think you meant cut it out. Yeah, so there was a poll where it was. I'll have to look exactly. Move my phone out really quick so I get the exact figures. But um, there was a poll, and this guy basically goes. Let's see. Let's see if we can find it in our chat here, Rich. So it was for guys, right? Which of these three girls would guys most want to marry? The first one was she has a body count of 20. She has 105 IQ. She makes $120,000 a year. Woman number two has a body count of 50, has 130 IQ. She makes 90K a year. And the woman number three has body count of zero, a IQ of 80, and makes $50,000 a year. I'm curious to the panel. If you want me to read them off again, I will. But
Here, I got it up here on my screen
yeah,
because
go ahead, Rich,
I actually shared it on my timeline here. So
don't share the
give
results just yet because I'm curious to see what
okay.
they might. Because I think this goes back to what do we think men really want, and so does anybody have a guess? One, two,
So
or three.
basically, the three options again are, do women think that men want a low body count with sorry, zero body count, IQ 80, $50,000 a year income, body count 50, IQ 130, which is high, it's beyond average, $90,000 a year income, or body count 20 with an IQ of 105 with $120,000 a year income. So I guess the question is, what do the ladies think is most important to guys? Purity?
Body count of zero.
Body count
Definitely.
zero?
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody all agree with that? Because I didn't even get to the other stuff. You just jumped on that right away.
Yeah, sorry.
Does everybody agree with that too?
Yeah, I think that's probably more important than the amount of money that they're making.
I think most men, I think most men who took the poll would say that the body count of zero, IQ of 80, I'm not sure what that looks like, but I still think that the men would choose the third one.
Okay, so it's unanimous that all the ladies think that purity is important to men. So after that, it's income and it's smarts. Like how much of a priority? I mean, I suppose you could have a high income and be dumb, but it's not likely. They're usually correlated. But how important, like, you could have a gal that's got a body count of 20, but makes $120,000 a year, which would be $100,000 more than the virgin, for example. I mean, do women think that income or a woman's income is important to guys when we're sussing, like women out?
Depends on the man.
What does that mean? Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. There's some men that also want to take a back seat, just like some women do, and they, want to be a stay-at-home dad. And so,
but are you attracted to men that want to take a back seat?
Oh, no. Me personally, no.
Are any of the women on the panel attracted to a man that would want to take a back seat and be a stay-at-home dad and take care of the house while you go off to work and chase excellence and bring home the bacon?
Not particularly.
Nobody's excited about that.
No. But I think so. What was the option? She has like a body count of 20, makes 120,000, and what was her IQ in that one?
105, which is average.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the best option, because I do think that men want a woman who has wisdom and can be like a companion of the mind as well. 20, not ideal, but
I mean,
I don't know. But
somebody pointed out in the chat here that 80 is a literal artard. So
it's like
that's
borderline. I think 70 and below. I think it's like 80 is walking the fine.
I think the 20, 120, 105 or whatever of those three. But also I do want to say that Anna there are men who will not date women who do not have master's degrees and don't make enough money, because I have been turned down by men for those reasons in the Bay Area. Generally, men who are in like academia, or
Wait, you got turned down because you have a college degree? Is that what you just said?
no,
because she doesn't.
because I don't have a master's degree.
Oh.
And then income also, because there are men who want to do like a 50-50 income split. And so they do care about a woman's income. So there are men who want that, because I have been rejected for not having a master's degree and not making a certain amount of money. That does exist.
Let me ask you a question, Nicole.
That's
Were
so
those
weird.
men strong, masculine, virtuous, like men, like alpha chad sort of thing, or were they more not that?
No, they weren't that, but each of them are considered successful,
Right.
and even a couple are in the public eye.
See,
So
see, that's a lie that I was sold to, right? When I was younger, is I believed in, like the Twin Towers story, like the story of equality where, we go and conquer the world, together sort of thing. Like my ex-wife is a lawyer, right? And I was an entrepreneur at the time when I'd met her. We built a custom home together, blah, 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 and all that stuff. So it was like, I was about, that. And in hindsight, there was benefit to that, because if you have to untie the knot here in Canada, there's no like equalization of payments or anything like that if they make about the same money as you. So that was a blessing that I didn't plan or predict for. I get it. And I understand why guys think that, especially when they're sort of like plugged into the matrix, sort of stories. But that's not something that I would recommend today. Like I wouldn't follow that route today. And I wouldn't recommend to guys to follow that route where it's like, well, if she doesn't have degrees, then you should disqualify her. Like, I think that it's more important. And all the ladies alluded to this immediately. I didn't even get to the other ones. You're like, body count 0. Like even Anna, body count 0 right away. That's the first thing that guys want. I think that guys should put a priority on that, especially if you're going to want to have children, because we've seen the data on that. I'm not sure, if you guys have seen the data on promiscuity, that they've studied. Are y'all familiar with it?
No.
The chances of divorce, if you invite a promiscuous woman into your life for marriage to make her the mother of your kids, is significantly higher. The chance of you being together if you marry a virgin is like 80% after 10 years. It drops down to like 30% if she's had 8 or more partners. So go ahead.
Sorry. No. I have done a lot of research, and I just feel like there's so much more to marriage than just the woman's body count and her level of promiscuity. Like,
there's loads to it, but if you correlate her past, her sexual past, with the amount of men that she shared her body with, the chances of that marriage lasting is much lower than if she was a virgin on the day of the wedding. It's just a fact of life. I wonder if that
correlates at all with, if a woman is a virgin, waiting to get married, if she's also seeking a husband with those same values, if that has anything to do with the correlation of the marriage working or not, and not whether or not she's had sex with 20 other men and she just hasn't. I don't know.
That's actually a very good question. And it is important, but it's not as important with men. So a guy could be with like 100 women and still want to be in a monogamous marriage and have a whole bunch of children with you and stay with you for the rest of your life. But the chances of it being successful over a prolonged period of time dramatically goes up the fewer men that you've been with. It just seems that women have a difficult time staying pair bonded to a man if she's been with a bunch of men in the past, because the theory seems to be that, well, if she's been with 50 guys and if you're number 51 and things don't work out, then she's already exited that 50 times. So it's not a big deal. She'll find a way to, wrap it up and call it a day. Whereas if it's 0 or 1 or something like that, it's tougher and it's less interesting to you, and you're more committed to it. And sometimes there's cultural stuff, sometimes there's religious stuff that sort of plays into that. But the truth of the matter is when you study the data, promiscuity is not a desirable trait in a wife. And I think that most women inherently know that. In fact, you inherently know that, Anna, because before I even got to the other data, you're like 0, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't sweep that under the rug. That's just a fact of life.
Yeah, but I also think there's a flaw in the poll, you know, in choosing a girlfriend.
Mhm.
Do you know how many people she slept with? Probably not. Do you know her IQ or what money she makes? No, you're going to go
Yeah.
off of based on, is she attractive? Yes or no? Do I want to date her, have sex with her, whatever?
Mhm.
And then the more you find out, and then that's when you decide, probably, I'm just throwing this out there, if you want to commit to that person or not.
Yeah, I think it's
Well,
just
that's what it is. Like,
assuming
the poll is
that
about
you know the
marriage.
information. It's just basic
Yeah.
information that you know. So it's in theory.
But also, it's about
Yeah.
marriage. It's not about when I take this girl out on a date and sleep with her. This is like, you know, you assume that those things are going to come out in a proper courtship and a vetting period where a guy takes anywhere from, you know, 18 months to multiple years before he does anything like that. So those things leave clues. You know, the amount of money that she makes and her level of smarts, and you know, again, you're very rarely going to ask a woman like, oh, how many guys have you been with, and have them give you an open and honest answer as much as they like, which is so interesting because it's such not a big deal these days. Then why do women still lie about it? And why are they so secretive? And why are they? Because deep down they understand that men value purity, and they're trying to kind of protect their innocence in a way. But
Honestly,
you can see that, you know, you can, if you've dated and you've been around enough women, you can understand like which ones are a little more, you know, promiscuous and loose than others.
I think for me, depending on how I would answer that question, how long do I know this man that's asking me how many people I've been with? If it's a first date and you want to know how many people I've slept with, I'm just going to tell you I'm not going to answer that question because
At what
I
point would
feel
you be
like
comfortable with answering that question?
if we're dating, if you're officially my boyfriend, Facebook official, I'll tell you anything you want to know.
And so
Facebook
what would happen if
Facebook official is like the test.
Yeah.
Are you in a
Yeah.
committed relationship on
Yeah,
Facebook?
if my
Isn't that
grandma's gonna
interesting?
see it, like, yeah, that's
Okay,
yeah.
But I
interesting.
think you may run into, I don't know, again, I can't predict the future, but when a guy is going to contemplate whether he's going to take you seriously and become Facebook official, that's something that's going to be, you know, important to him. You know, so it's that therein lies sort of the power struggle, because I know I know plenty of guys out there that um, they're not going to give away their commitment to and commit to a woman with a checkered past that is not, if their goal is to be, you know, exclusive with you and have kids with you and get married with you down the line, they're going to go after women where their best bet of having those kids and having a successful long-term relationship / marriage is going to be, you know, the highest it could possibly be. So I think that's going to be a difficult conversation, potentially, if it's, well, I'll tell you that when there's a ring on my finger, or I'll tell you that when you're fully committed to me. And then it becomes almost like a gotcha in some sort of fashion.
See,
Yeah.
like the thing about that as an achievement, I'm going to call it an achievement because I think that guys consider it an achievement, whereas women tend to disagree with that. But it's hard for men to rack up notches. It's not hard for women. It's very easy for women to do it. So I think if you have that conversation, when women hear the number, it's like, okay, so other women have wanted this guy and other women have been with this guy. And, you know, as long as he doesn't have a disease or something like that, but like he's proving his worth, right? He's proven that he's got value and that he can accomplish something, that he can do things because he's done that, even though it may not sound pretty or sexy or romantic or any of those things. You're not generally disgusted by it, I don't think, unless it's like a ridiculous number and the person's, you know, totally disgusting. But I think men, on the other hand, though, I mean, like, advice for ladies out there, I would not be giving out numbers like that.
Wait, can I interject really quick?
Yeah,
What's a disgusting amount of number for men and what's a disgusting amount of number for women? Because I feel like there's probably a difference there.
that's all going to depend on who you ask. So maybe we should ask the ladies, what would be a disgusting number that would turn you off a guy?
I mean, I would prefer someone probably under. I mean, I guess it depends on how many people I've slept with, but like I feel like there's like a ratio. Like I definitely wouldn't want to be with somebody who slept
Do
with
you want
less
to give
people
us a
than I've slept.
ratio, like 5 to 1? Do you want to give us a
I
number?
mean,
Like,
ideally, I don't want to be with somebody who slept with more than 10 people.
Okay.
I mean, that's probably like the maximum. I prefer it to be, you know, not near 10 even, but
What about a ratio? Like, what if there's a ratio?
It also depends on how old they are. Like, I just feel like when I think about how many people, like the body count thing, I think about, okay, like when did you lose your virginity and how long? I guess how many people in how many years, rather than just how many people in general, but like how many from, the first time you were intimate with a person to now, how many people has that been? And kind of the circumstances around that of, I guess just the behavior around that of like
Okay.
how promiscuous have you been? Has it been in relationships or has it been a lot of hookups?
Is it for you, Anna? Like, is there a ratio or is there a number that would disgust you that would turn you off a guy?
Honestly, that's not a conversation that I have often with people that I date, especially now that I'm older. Sure, when I was like in, high school or whatever, like, oh, how many people have you slept with? Was all like always a question to be asked. But as I've gotten older, I don't get asked that question anymore. But I don't know. I feel like for a guy my age, anything more than 30, I'd probably be like, all right, what are you
A little
doing?
too much?
But not that it's too much, but it's just like, damn, like, why? But not that would, I don't know. I think anything more than 50, I'd be like, all right, just stay away.
Okay. What about you, Nicole? Do you have a number of disgust or a ratio?
Yeah, I guess I'm like in the minority because I mean, if a man's like, and I know this is still modest for some men, but like 100, 150, like to me, it doesn't so much matter like how many or which women he's been with in the past. So like if a man's been with 100 plus women, to me, it doesn't change in my eyes his value. But I will say that the problem that I'm finding when I'm considering men who have very high body counts, or like we'll say 100 plus, because I know there's men who are 400 or 500 plus, but the 100, it seems like when you start getting around 100 plus women with a man, they generally do not want actual monogamy. They want to be like monogamish, where third parties can enter into the dynamic. And so for me, it's not a matter of like how many he slept with because of his value, but I think once men have had that much actual variety and have had multiple sexual partners within single experiences and over, paired with like watching pornography and these things, it's going to be very difficult for that man to just be with one woman sexually the rest of his life. And for me, that's like not an area that I'm comfortable. I don't know, like I can't sign up for that. And so that's one thing that's like difficult. It's like, yeah, I don't care, but I am finding at those numbers, you're hard pressed to find a man who's like, yes, one woman forever. They've had too much. They've had too many.
That's true.
Right. True. So, so that's my only thing, but not his value.
Okay. Sorry, Moff, you broke up there.
Oh, I was just saying I want to come back to that after we get to Jessica.
Yeah, okay. Jessica, like you're married obviously, but is that something that you would comment on?
Honestly, it's not really like a big concern for me. I mean, I think after like 30, 40, it starts to get kind of too much. I'm similar to Nicole, where it's like, you get to a certain amount where it's just like, what's going on? Why are you in the hundreds, or like even after like 50? But to me, it's not something that's like a deal breaker. Like if it's, more than like 15, 20 people, I'm just like, it is what it is, especially for a man.
That's interesting. So I just dropped a poll in the live chat, and I am asking guys, because I think most of the audience watching is men probably at this point. But at what point here, I got to open it because it closed up. How do I open this poll? Men, at what point is their body count too much? And I've put 5 plus, 10 plus, 25 plus, 50 plus. And right now it's polling where 5 plus is too much for the vast majority of people watching. So it's interesting that men and women have different numbers where it turns into disgust, right? Like for a lot of guys, it's like, disgust triggers at a very low number. Whereas for women, especially like as you get older, I think women have the understanding that guys will just, like if you're dating a 45-year-old guy, and you're maybe, at Nicole's stage, like you kind of expect him to have some experience. I think if you found a guy that didn't have any experience, Nicole, you'd probably question why. Like, why are you only with 1 or 2 girls, or perhaps even a virgin at this point? Like that would probably be more of a turnoff than a guy with a 100 notch count, right?
A virgin would be bizarre to me. Yes.
Right.
A
Yeah.
virgin
Yeah.
would be bizarre.
Whereas
But
like
a guy,
100 would be like, that would be normal because he's 45.
well, it would be normal, but like I said, I just don't know that that's ideal, because then I think men get too used to the like natural variety,
Yeah,
right?
there's truth to that. Yeah.
They've conditioned that natural part of their brain that desires that. It's very hard to come out of that.
Mm.
So, but I wouldn't be, I mean, if a guy was like, oh, I've had, what you said, like under 5 or whatever pulled for women, it wouldn't be a turn off for me, but most likely it's because he's chosen that. He's probably religious. Like I'm Catholic. I make no secret about it. And the men in the church often do have a lower body count. And so I kind of am like, okay, my whole point is like a larger one doesn't bother me, but it's just the variety thing. So when men don't stop that part of their, they don't discipline themselves sexually like that, then that's what it is. Very hard to close that door.
Okay.
So I think you'll have to be, most likely those men need a woman who's maybe doesn't need complete sexual monogamy at that point.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here, and pin down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.